today by Dr. Naomi Bick, Assistant Professor of Political Science and Public Policy at Fresno State. Dr. Bick, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.
All right, so today we're going to start with your experience in the Discovery program. But before we get into that specific program, can you tell us your academic background and what classes you teach?
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks for having me here today. My background, it's my second year here at Fresno State. I just finished up. I teach in the political science department, where I mostly teach public policy. I teach local government, state government is sort of my background, is sort of more at the local levels. I also study climate change and sustainability, so I'm teaching some of those sorts of things as well. Before coming here, I was in Michigan, so I'm adapting to California life and life here at Fresno State, which has been great so far.
Great. Well, welcome to the Valley. So let's go with the Discovery program. So how did you find out about it? How did you why did you sign up, and what was your experience like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I had heard actually from some other people in my department and other faculty that I came in with about the program. And so that's sort of how I heard about it. And I really was interested to explore it just to learn a little bit more about what other faculty are doing and what technology is kind of fun and fresh. I love new technology. I don't really have a problem implementing technology, but I wanted to kind of see what other folks were doing, make sure that my students could get kind of, the same sorts of experience and have a really well-rounded experience with technology. I also wanted my students to have access to the Discovery devices and support, because I had students even in my first semester here that didn't have their own devices. And so that was really interesting and important to me, to be able to get students a little bit more connected with some of the supports that exist on campus and not miss out on any opportunities. So for equity reasons, for new technology reasons, and just to grow and better my own understanding of some stuff is sort of why I was interested in Discovery.
And so going through the program, what were some of your major takeaways? And then if anything that was learned through the program, what have you tried to implement in the classroom, and then how's that gone with students? That's a lot of questions all together.
Yeah, I'll try to answer them all.
We can break it apart as we go through that.
Yeah, if I miss anything, just go back to it. So the program for me was great. I got to meet a lot of folks across campus, which was awesome because, like I said, I'm relatively new. So that was really cool. And I learned a lot about all sorts of different things. Some of kind of the big highlights for me was learning more about the Google suites and kind of the Google platforms that exist. I had kind of scratched the surface, but didn't fully use everything and integrate it with Canvas and things like that. So that was really helpful. And my students responded really well to that. They caught on easily, and I used it for a lot of things throughout the year. So that was a big one. I also really liked learning about simulations and applied a lot more kind of simulations and simulation related activities throughout the semester, which was great. My students were still talking about a simulation we did like early in the semester by the end of the semester. So I know that that really stuck with them, which is fantastic. And then one of the other big things was kind of learning more about just programs that exist on campus, like the library, and being able to make like course reserve lists. I kind of knew about course reserves, but didn't know the full extent that the library was able to help us access resources and materials for our students. So that was another really big highlight for me.
So I want to hear more about the simulation. You had students engaged. That's something a lot of people are saying that they're having a struggle with. So can you talk more about what that was like? What specifically they were doing with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the simulation was actually about gerrymandering. So it was an intro to American government class, and it was about how our districts drawn and how sort of, political leaders can kind of manipulate districts for their own interests. And so the simulation was actually having students act as the redistricting committee and redrawing their own districts. So there's a program that allows students to redraw their districts. It's actually really hard. It's really technical kind of program. So we had to spend several classes kind of working on it. But they learn, really what goes into that process, and they have a lot more kind of respect and appreciation for citizens that volunteer to help with that process for our government. And they had a really good time. So that was great.
One of the things that several folks have mentioned, and you mentioned it briefly as well,
Mhm.
was the opportunity just to talk to other faculty and hear what other faculty were doing. How was the peer-to-peer experience for you, and how do you see uh, ongoing possibilities with other faculty that you may have met, or just having that experience being a springboard to other things?
Yeah. So talking with the other faculty was great because they're in such different disciplines, but yet we're all sort of having the same sorts of, questions and struggles and, ways that we're trying to engage students. So I learned through them just a lot more programs and software and ways of accessing things that I hadn't thought about. And also the ways that they sort of engage their students that may be different than the way I would think about it. So I would say that was really helpful. I also really valued working with faculty who had more experience than me. I might have more experience with technology than some of them, probably a lot of them, just because of my age and things like that. But a lot of them have more teaching experience. So I got to learn just a lot about how to really kind of blend the technology with good pedagogy, I would say, which was a fantastic experience.
So one of your areas of research background that you talked about was climate change and sustainability. There's a growing interest in
Mhm.
integrating those concepts across disciplines.
Mhm.
As an expert in that area, how do you see in the area of climate change, probably as it relates to public policy,
Mhm.
not the science itself,
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
how do you see possibilities for integrating those concepts in your area and in possibly other areas as folks are thinking about those things?
Yeah, this is a great question, and one that I've been thinking a lot about as I'm getting ready to teach climate politics. So I would say there are actually a lot of ways that faculty, even if they're teaching something marginally connected to climate politics and just want to bring in a little bit, that they can do that through technology. So there's actually a really great policy simulation on climate change that I could see faculty using across campus, and it can be, a day activity in class or something like that. There's also scientific sort of, different ways of accessing technology and learning about the technology through apps and programs that exist. Maybe not my field, but other faculty that are more in that science line again could incorporate quick activities into their, regular classes. And yeah, so I would say that through technology, there's a lot of people are thinking about this and have made a lot of great free programs that engage students, that have videos, that have interactive components and things like that, that they could tap into. And, I think with big kind of questions like climate change, using even simple tools like your Jamboard or, other kind of collaborative tools to get students talking about and thinking about these things is also just a big help. I don't think you have to do anything too fancy like a simulation, but I think that there's a lot of potential for faculty across campus to engage in this sort of stuff.
Okay, so what's next for you? You said you're still relatively toward the beginning of your teaching career. What other areas, maybe things that you learned about in Discovery or that you just wanted to explore, where do you think you will go next? What other areas that you want to evolve and grow as an instructor?
Yeah, great question. So technology wise, there's still a lot that I learned about that I didn't get to incorporate yet. So I incorporated a little bit of like whole everywhere types of, short programs and experiences. And I'd love to kind of explore more of that in certain classes. So technology wise, I have things that I want to do. And then in terms of sort of other, campus wide trainings and tasks, I'd love to pursue some of the more in-depth, like equity-minded pedagogy practices, which I've heard great things about as well. And I think that a lot of it connects back with discovery too, because I think that really one thing that that I learned through Discovery is just how technology can be such an equalizer and can really help students from across campus come together, connect, and learn new things. So I would say that's a big one that I'm looking to get into. And yeah, and just whatever other opportunities kind of come my way. I feel like I'm like, my students in some ways. I'm always learning, trying to get new ideas and try new things. So I'm open to pretty much all new opportunities and experiences. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time, and have a good summer.
Thanks, you too. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To learn more, visit our website, academics.fresnostate.edu/ideas, or contact us to share your story. Ideas@mail.fresnostate.edu.